The episode starts off with Beatrice's dark magic looking better than ever. We can definitely see the upgrade over the previous season, and then I just love watching Beatrice fight because she's very strategic but also very ballsy, metaphorically speaking. She has the courage against an archbishop to be shooting spells and then do a fake out, which I don't think many characters would have the courage to do so against an archbishop in Rezero. It just goes to show that Betty is on the next level. Unfortunately for Byaco, she's teamed up with a bunch of idiots who do nothing but get stomped by Lai. Obviously, they're not idiots, I'm being overly cruel. Lai is very strong in his own right, even though his fashion sense is severely lacking. But then Feld comes to save the day with a staff. And if you had a staff, would you maybe do some sort of incantation to buff your allies? Or would you shoot a spell? Or would you get in melee range and literally club the enemy with the staff? Which option would you choose? You know damn well which option Feld chose. She is street smart, but she lacks a bit of common sense. Unfortunately, it's not very effective, and Lai goes to Feld all delighted, completely overjoyed, licking himself, calling her Feld-chan. It's just... Officer, it's this one right here. Lai does not go to jail, but he gets an even more appropriate punishment. Beatrice and Feld unite their forces and use the staff as it's meant to be used, and they shoot a huge hyper beam, which shoots Lai and disintegrates a large portion of Priestella, which once again gets me worried who's covering the property values on all of this, but that's a story for another day. In the middle of all of this, my main worry is not Lai or the plummeting real estate value in Priestella, which is going down very fast the more this battle goes on, but it is in fact Gaston, who was on the ground holding Lai's leg, and they just shot a huge, very thick, very girthy hyper beam towards him, and obviously they shot it at a bit of an upwards angle so it wouldn't affect Gaston on the ground, but still... That's a very dangerous spot to be in. Won't somebody please check up on Gaston? Is he okay? Was he disintegrated in battle? Because if so, press F to pay respect. But then things go from bad to worse as somebody just noms on Otto's legs, which that seems very, very painful. That's one of the most gruesome things we've seen on screen. I didn't expect him to show it like that. That was a lot, but still... Otto will be fine because Otto's power comes from being overlooked. So the less we think about Otto, the better he will be. Trust me, the logic checks out. The culprit is revealed to be a character from One Punch Man, who is actually Louis in disguise, the famous Louis, or Rui, or however you want to call it, just not Louise, or whatever you guys say, okay? Not that. Louis or Rui. Pick one, not Louise, okay? Louise does not exist. Okay, let's make that perfectly clear. Either way, that's just a personal nitpick that annoys me so much. I don't know why. Either way, Louis is wearing black, which I, as a novel reader, thought it was a bit, peculiar, because I'm usually used to every single illustration of Louis is in white, so seeing her in the, perhaps not even the characteristic black of the witch cult, because they use this sort of creepy purple, but either way, I didn't expect her to see her in black, so that was cool. That was a different look for me, and I enjoyed it. And then, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, it is revealed that Feld is not her actual name. It is a name given to her by Old Man Rom, but it is a fake name, because her real name is something Lugunica. Obviously, she's a princess from the royal family. This has been obvious since the first few episodes of Season 1. Come on, guys. Come on. This isn't even a spoiler. It's just so obvious that... Come on, guys. Beatrice knows that she can't do many more big spells because she has limited magic crystals, and most of her allies are either unfit for combat or just very tired and mostly useless. So she decides to accept Louis' retreat, and Louis does go away, and like 30 milliseconds after, we see Kiritaka on the megaphone doing the announcement that they have won. So obviously they didn't know this battle was going on at the time. Kiritaka just mostly got the report from all of the watchtowers, but still the timing was almost video game like. You beat the boss and you immediately get the announcement, the notification on screen, you guys won, congratulations. Everybody is happy and reunites. Beatrice even has this very cute relationship with Emilia. They're obviously friends, but she pretends she wasn't that worried. So lovely, and I'm sure everything will be fine now. Nothing bad will happen. Our heroes then go to a jail cell where Shirius is being held. They actually manage to capture an archbishop alive, which is very impressive. If we are being honest, Shirius is likely the least useful archbishop in terms of information. She's mostly just crazy and doesn't really get along with any of the others besides the one that's already gone, so she's not super useful, but it's something. The conversation is relatively uneventful with a few nuggets of information here and there. The most important one is that the licking fetish runs in the Romane Conti family, as after Betelgeuse, Shirius also licks Subaru, which is disturbing, but for those of you who are into that kind of thing, that's the kind of thing you like. I wish you well. We also discover that Shiryu sings about as well as I do, so I hope that one day we can converge together in a beautiful duet to rival Myth and Droid. Oh, please don't let me die waiting for your touch. I apologize to everybody whose ears I've just assassinated. Maybe I will edit this out. Maybe I won't. I never know, because the thing is, I like to speak, I like to yap, sometimes I even like to sing, and then in post I will decide if it stays or if it doesn't stay. But if I'm feeling fresh, you will be seeing this right now, and in that case, I hope you can recover. I can give you some ear doctors nearby that are very good, very, very good. Jokes aside, the conversation does end with Shirius giving the juiciest bits of information, namely that Betelgeuse is inside Subaru, so not only did he get the witch factor, apparently he got Betelgeuse himself, which we're not sure as of this moment if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's probably bad, but I guess we'll deal with it later. And also she does give a warning to be careful with gluttony, which... how nice of Shirius. She's a good gal. I think the whole mummy thing has got her a little bit confused, but deep down, I bet she's Fortuna. I bet she's a good person. After a quick exchange with the man in the helmet, we see that Al was the one who revived Beatrice and gave her the magic crystals, which... from the context, you can assume he just stole them. Surely he didn't buy them or borrow them or anything like that. He just went to the warehouse in the middle of the confusion, took them and gave them to Beatrice, which, hey, he's like Robin Hood for spirits, which is something, I guess. Good for Al. Emilia says that she doesn't believe that Al is a bad guy, but... Emilia doesn't really believe anybody is a bad guy. She's so sweet, but so naive. From the actions that we know Al took in this arc, stealing is the least of them. So I wouldn't pass judgment on if Al is a good guy or a bad guy just yet, but I will say for sure that he's not a goody two-shoes like Subaru. They then have a very important conversation with all of the main players in Arc 5, and Liliana is also there for some reason. Who let her into the adults conversation? Either way. And they are deciding on Wrath's fate, and Anastasia is very opposed to letting her live. I agree with Anastasia, even though the reader in me knows that the more interesting narrative option is to keep Shirius alive right now, because one day she will surely come back for Wrath Part 2, Electric Boogaloo, but the rational brain in me, as if I was in the actual story, I think that the downside of having Shirius alive greatly outweighs the upside. They won't be able to get too much information out of her, she's completely crazy, and also the risk of her escaping is just too great. They decide against it, however, because capturing an archbishop alive is just such a rare occasion that they have to try and do something with it, and so to take her to the capital will be Reinhardt. And you know what they say, when you severely traumatize and are having emotional conflicts with your family members, the best way to get away from all the drama is to just focus on work, and that's what Reinhardt is doing here. They then decide what to do with the civilians. Priscilla says to go for the more drastic option, which is very Priscilla-like, but also strangely merciful in her own way. But Emilia says there is another way, and so she freezes them in cold ice, where they will be eternally, or perhaps just a very long time. Maybe humanity just ceases to exist, and one day they unfreeze and are like, this is interesting. But still, Emilia freezes all of the civilians until they can find a solution. And in the background, you see that Priscilla is impressed. She didn't actually believe she could do it. Priscilla is impressed. I see you, Priscilla. And then we see a lovely shot of everybody going about their day, recovering from the wounds of the battle. We see that some of Regulus's hoes are listening to Liliana's song. I'm happy for them. I'm happy that they get to enjoy music and smile now. We get to see a shot of mostly everybody, all of the important characters. We see Heinkel is doing what he loves best, which is drinking. And we get the conclusion to one of the most compelling storylines in Arc 5. Can Liliana learn to wink? no, she cannot. She still can't do it. She does a very poor attempt at it. Once again, she needs more classes with Priscilla to really learn how to do it. But for real, this was one of my favorite running gags throughout the series, and I love this continuity that they had with it. Also, as the morning rises, I can't help but think, is no one sleeping through this? Because they've been up all night long fighting and doing all sorts of arduous physical activity, and they still seem fine. They don't want to go to bed. And you know what they say about Subaru and Emilia. When they do it, they like to do it all night long. And as everything seems happy and charming and lovely, we get a final scene with Julius, who seemed to be gone. I wonder where he was. And so he seems to be a little bit distressed. Perhaps he is still feeling the effects of the lack of sleep. He hasn't drank the Lugunica energy drink that everybody else has, but something seems wrong. And then Emilia says, "Who is that? Is that your friend?" And with the happy, cheery music in the background, this ending to the season was just diabolical, and I loved it. From the creators of Who is Rem, we now bring you Who is Julius, and the ending was just perfect for me. I love the way they did it, the juxtaposition with the happy, cheery music in the background, and even for those who are not readers, from the facial expressions alone and from a bit of deductive reasoning, since he was fighting gluttony, you could see that something was wrong. And then the facial expressions, the looks, and then when Emilia confirms it, who is this guy? Is he your friend? Wow, the ending, what a way to end the season. To me, perfect. Overall, great final episode. I wish it was a bit longer, like a double episode, or just extended length at least, because there was a lot of stuff to cover. They had to wrap up the final fights in Arc 5 and also give a bit of the aftermath. They ended up not adapting the entirety of Volume 20, but there is at least one thing in particular I'm thinking of, which they will surely adapt at the beginning of Season 4. They have to, so for the story to make sense. So I won't go into it, novel readers know what it is, but still I think they did a pretty good job with the limited time that they had. The ending scene was diabolically perfect. I just burst out laughing, and it is the perfect cliffhanger to really leave fans wanting more, because you could sort of wrap this up a bit more cleanly, but to leave it like this, it's almost like Rezero is a meta series where they also make the fans suffer, and it's just beautiful. I love this ending. Nothing could possibly be more hype for Season 4. Season 4 has been announced, and the hype is unprecedented from me and from a lot of you as well, I'm sure. So this will be the final episode review of Rezero for a while, until it gets back. I hope we don't have to wait too long, but I would rather wait a bit more and the adaptation to be truly glorious and do justice to what is one of the best arcs in Rezero, so I'm really looking forward to that. Until then, I will be reviewing the light novels and the web novels, so be sure to check those out if you're interested, and I will probably do a sort of season review as a whole, looking into cut content and my overall thoughts on it once I've had a little bit more time to think about it and really digest the season as a whole. Until then, this has been it for me. Be sure to follow, links in the description, like, subscribe, and ciao.